Hey everyone! Welcome to Update X24H, your go-to channel for the latest news, hottest dramas, breaking stories, and all the buzz from the world of entertainment. We're here to keep you updated, entertained, and always in the loop. Hit that subscribe button and join our growing family, because here at Update X24H, we bring you the news that matters, the drama you love, and the stories you can't miss. Thanks for being part of our community. Let's stay connected, stay updated, and keep the good vibes rolling. Behind every star's smile lies a hidden story. But what if that story ends in mystery, suspicion, and unanswered questions? Today we uncover the shocking truth surrounding the sudden death of Yu Menglong, the beloved Chinese actor and singer whose tragic fall stunned millions. Stay with us, because what you're about to hear may change the way you see the entertainment industry forever. At just 37 years old, Yu Menglong's life was cut short in the most shocking and heartbreaking way imaginable. News of his sudden fall from the 5th floor of a Beijing residence spread like wildfire across Asia and far beyond, leaving fans reeling in disbelief. For many, the first reaction was sheer denial. How could someone so full of talent, energy, and promise simply vanish overnight? The official announcement from his management company was brief, almost cold in its simplicity, offering no comfort and no clarity. It only deepened the hollow ache that millions of admirers felt in their hearts. The tragedy resonated because Yu was not just another celebrity. He had become part of people's daily lives. His dramas played in households from Shanghai to Seoul, his songs streamed on playlists in Tokyo and Los Angeles, and his interviews revealed a sincerity that many believed rare in the entertainment world. To his audience, he represented more than fame. He symbolized youth, perseverance, and the dream that artistry could break barriers. That is why the silence surrounding his death felt unbearable. When the announcement gave no explanation, it created a void that grief alone could not fill. In the days that followed, fans began to gather online, posting tributes, old clips, and heartfelt messages. They lit candles at home, they wrote letters, and they cried as if they had lost someone close. Strangers who had never met in person found themselves united in sorrow, building a digital memorial to a man whose presence had touched them deeply. This collective grief revealed the extent of Yu's influence. He had crossed borders, cultures, and languages, binding together people who shared nothing more than admiration for his work and compassion for his humanity. Yet within this grief lay a deeper unease. The questions left unanswered became part of the mourning itself. Fans wondered what struggles he had faced, what burdens he had carried, and whether the demands of fame had weighed too heavily on him. His death was not only the end of a life, but the beginning of a painful conversation about the hidden costs of celebrity. In this sense, Yu Menglong's tragedy did not just shake millions with sorrow. It forced them to confront the fragility of human life, the silence behind public smiles, and the haunting truth that even the brightest stars can fall when the weight of the world becomes too much to bear. When the news first broke, authorities were quick to release their conclusion. There was no sign of foul play in Yu Menglong's sudden death. To some, this seemed like closure. Yet for many others, it felt like the beginning of something far more unsettling. The official explanation was too swift, too neat, and far too shallow for a life as complex as his. Behind the polished words of the statement, there lingered an emptiness, a sense that crucial pieces of the puzzle were being overlooked or deliberately left unsaid. That silence gave rise to countless questions that refused to fade, each one circling back to the same haunting thought. Was this really an accident, or was there more hidden beneath the surface? The scene itself seemed to whisper contradictions. A broken window mesh suggested force or panic, not serenity. Curtains removed from their place hinted at intervention, at an act that was neither natural nor unplanned. Friends who had dined with him only hours before spoke of tense conversations, of a shift in atmosphere that was too heavy to ignore. Some mentioned arguments, others described closed doors and silence that stretched into the early hours. By the time dawn arrived, the narrative had already fractured. The timeline no longer felt consistent. How could a man be laughing with companions one moment and lying lifeless the next? For neighbors and bystanders, the unease deepened with every detail that trickled out. Strange figures had been seen moving through the building that night, unfamiliar to those who lived there. Sounds of raised voices were heard through the thin walls. Paparazzi posts appeared and vanished within hours, leaving behind only screenshots that hinted at something unusual. Instead of clarity, each revelation only sharpened the shadows. In the court of public opinion, these fragments became threads of suspicion, woven together into endless theories. Some imagined betrayal at the hands of a trusted friend. Others whispered of pressures from his management, of contracts so suffocating they left no room to breathe. Still others believed there were secrets darker still, truths too dangerous to bring into the light. None of these ideas could be proven, yet none could be easily dismissed. What remains most unsettling is not just the lack of answers, but the knowledge that questions were silenced too quickly. Closure was offered but not earned, and in that gap between what was said and what was left unsaid, millions found themselves staring into uncertainty, unwilling to accept that the life of Yu Menglong could be reduced to a line in a report without confronting the mystery of how and why it all ended. In the wake of Yu Menglong's passing, whispers began to spread that drew the tragedy into a far more complex light. It was no longer just a story of a man who had fallen. It became a story of the hidden tensions, the overlooked fragments, and the small but telling details that painted a picture of something much larger. Beyond the headlines and official statements, new angles began to emerge, each one raising fresh questions that unsettled those who cared to look closer. It was revealed that Yu had been preparing for a series of major projects that could have reshaped his career and positioned him in a new league of influence. This, instead of being a moment of triumph, became a backdrop for speculation about conflict. Were there disagreements over ownership of creative rights, arguments about contracts, or silent battles over opportunities that might have been too valuable to lose? These possibilities added a dimension of pressure and rivalry that the public had not been allowed to see. Then there were the objects left behind, the details that seemed too strange to dismiss. Reports mentioned 2 luxury watches, said to belong to someone else, found among Yu's possessions. To some, they symbolized trust, perhaps even loyalty between friends. To others, they suggested tension, questions of betrayal, or debts that could not be settled peacefully. These fragments of his private life became symbols in themselves, fueling speculation about whether hidden confrontations had followed him to that final night. Eyewitness accounts also added to the uncertainty. Neighbors spoke of unusual activity in the early hours, of figures entering and leaving the building who were unfamiliar to those who lived there. There were hints of voices raised in anger, of conversations that did not match the silence described later. When paparazzi briefly posted about strange movements that evening, only to delete their words soon after, suspicion grew that something important had been brushed aside. Each deleted message became louder than if it had remained, because it suggested that truths too fragile or too dangerous were being concealed. All these details, the career-defining projects, the luxury items, the whispers of visitors in the night, did not form a clear story on their own. But together, they created the sense of a hidden world just beneath the surface of Yu Menglong's life. A world of opportunities, rivalries, and secrets that, once revealed, made it impossible to see his death as simple or accidental. It is in these fragments, in these overlooked traces, that the tragedy deepens, leaving those who mourn him with the heavy knowledge that so much remains unanswered. Beyond the mystery, there's the crushing reality of fame. Sources revealed Yu had endured intense schedules, sleepless nights, and a company that demanded absolute control over his image. Was the pressure too much to bear? Or was he caught in a struggle bigger than himself? This raises a painful truth. How many more stars suffer silently behind closed doors? Across China, fans held vigils online and offline. They shared messages like, "This cannot be an accident. We need answers." Hashtags flooded Weibo, Instagram, and TikTok, making his case one of the most discussed in recent memory. For many, Yu Menglong's story is no longer just about one man's death. It's about justice, transparency, and the fight against silence in the entertainment world. His passing has ignited debates about mental health, safety, and the darker realities of celebrity life. Journalists, industry insiders, and ordinary fans alike are now asking, how can such tragedies be prevented? Yu Menglong's legacy may go beyond his songs and dramas. He may forever be remembered as a symbol of both the fragility of life and the urgent need for change in an industry built on perfection. Even today, new theories emerge, new voices demand answers. Yet one thing remains certain. Yu Menglong's story has touched millions. It's a reminder that behind every headline, every performance, is a human being with hopes, fears, and vulnerabilities. If this story moved you, share it, discuss it, and keep the conversation alive. Because sometimes the truth only surfaces when we refuse to forget. Thank you for watching Update X24H. Don't forget to hit subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and join us as we continue to uncover the hidden stories shaping our world. Until next time, stay inspired, stay informed, and stay with us.